On This Week in Wabash, we are joined by Wabash River Defender board members Steve Johnson and Leanne Cooey. Nice to have you guys. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, Wayne. Thanks for having us.
All right. Very welcome. We're going to talk about just a little bit about Wabash River Defenders. I'm pretty sure everybody watching this show or listening to it on the radio has heard about Wabash River Defenders. Just a quick little, I don't know, a minute or so, Steve Johnson, on what the River Defenders is all about.
Well, the River Defenders has been a totally volunteer group. Started out at the LeGros Cafe, bunch of people sitting around drinking coffee and talking about the condition of the river and thinking, somebody ought to do something about all the trash in the river. And that somebody wound up being the core group that was sitting on that table in LeGros. And we've been doing now the Clean Out the Banks events. This will be our 11th year for that. And so we've taken out about 150 tons of materials, over 5,000 tires out of the river. And it is now to a point where we have a lot of activity on the river. A lot of people are just having a great time canoeing, kayaking, tubing on the Wabash River and being able to enjoy the scenery without it being marred by a lot of trash in the river and on the banks. So
absolutely. Yeah. With all the work in the river, but also, as you mentioned, as you go out to LeGros, the new pavement, the bridges. I mean, it's becoming something that people all over the state and all over this part of the country are talking about. Wabash County, Indiana, for our Wabash River. Leanne, you are out there at the district, the Wabash County Solid Waste Management District. You're with a veteran there. He knows a whole lot about the district. But, part of your mission is obviously to recycle as much as you can. And so this is kind of new to you as far as the River Defenders. But are you excited about this year?
I'm thrilled. Last year was my first river cleanup, and it was really eye-opening and really kind of heartwarming to see how much people in the community really care about the river. It's not just we live next to the river anymore, it's we're living with the river. And I think it's really awesome to be a part of something like that. So I'm amped up, I'm ready to go. Like, our work is so far from being finished, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
So we would like some more teams, is that right? And then you can talk about what some of the, I don't want to call them jobs, but some of the volunteer work would be. Why don't we start with that? What are some of the things they can do, Leanne, on that day on July?
So if you and your family want to form a team and get a section of the river, by all means, call us and register. If you just want to come by yourself, we can get you on a team, get you out on the river with other great people. Or, if you don't want to go in the river, you can go along the river banks and clean up trash. I mean, anywhere that you can pick up any amount of trash is always helpful. We have most of the volunteer work in the morning pretty much settled with the board members. But I mean, any amount of help that we can get, obviously, we're always grateful for it. But yeah, again, if you don't have a team, call us and we'll get you on one. We've got plenty of people who are willing to take on new people.
And that phone number is?
260-563-7649. And that is the phone number for the Solid Waste District. So you will be talking to either myself or one of our other employees here, and we can get you registered.
Steve, there's been a lot of work in the past, as you've mentioned, and I've seen people, as she said, in the river, on the banks of the river. A lot of people like to get out on their, boats, canoes, whatever. Do they need to provide their own canoe, kayak, whatever they're using out on the water?
That'd be very helpful. Yeah. Most of our teams are bringing their own canoes or flat bottom boats. Flat bottom boats are great. Hold a lot of material, and makes it easy just to float down the river and pick up debris and throw it in the boat. But canoes work well in addition to that. So I will tell you that the original design was for the cleanup was kind of like an adopt a mile kind of thing. We have different places that and relationships with property owners up and down the river that allow us to use the access points. So we have places scattered throughout that people can go into and come off of the river with the products that they're bringing from the river. So it's not like you have to go in at one spot and go all the way down the river until you find a place to come out. We do have it well organized, and so everybody knows where they're going.
Okay, so how many years have you actually been in the river and doing this this cleanup day, Steve?
This is the 11th year.
And you've done it every year.
There was one year when the water level was too high.
Yeah.
Too much flooding, and we wound up having a celebration festival that year.
That's right.
But other than that, it's been every year.
Okay, so being involved in that, Steve, and knowing, I mean, I'm assuming, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm assuming that each year there's less and less and less to clean out, or is that not the case?
That is the case. If you have seen some of the photographs from the early years, you'll recognize the dwindling pile, if you will, of material. So these days, although there is a good amount of material that comes out of there, a lot of it is kind of touch-up work compared to the earlier clean out the banks events. There were just tons and tons of materials initially brought out. So now, as I say, we're kind of touching up. We're getting the small things, the things that flowed in throughout the year from the previous event, but it's not nearly the kind of volume that was originally part of the clean out event.
Gotcha. Leanne, you mentioned earlier that you're kind of stoked about it and excited this year. Your staff, obviously great people out there at the district, and your board members, they're ready to roll, and great volunteers for our community. Would you like to say something about all them?
I mean, really, it's just kind of a testament to Wabash having such dedicated residents who care so much about the community that they're living in. They're such wonderful people. We call them river rats, and nothing's gonna stop them from going out on that river, weather, nothing. So
right.
It's really kind of amazing to see everybody pull together and do a job like this, because while it is a lot of fun, it can be some hard work. We've found things like recliners out on the banks and illegal dumping areas, and having people willing to go out there and grab those items and haul them back up on land is phenomenal.
That's great. All right, so again, I need a good commercial. I'll let you start, Leanne. A good commercial for getting people to come out on that date. Tell us when and where and how they can get a hold of you.
So our event, Clean Out the Banks, is happening on July 31st. We're all meeting down at Paradise Springs at 7 in the morning. We have coffee and donuts being provided and donated by Thomas Technologies, so shout out to them. We will assign individuals to groups at that point if they are not already part of a team. We'll want team leaders to come and register their team members, and we'll be passing out free t-shirts to every volunteer who comes down. And then around 8 o'clock, we'll start shipping out on our boats, and everybody will have a designated section of the river like Steve was talking about. And we'll just be out there for a couple of hours, and then we all meet back at Paradise Springs at noon, and Knights of Columbus is providing the lunch, and it'll be nice. Hamburgers, hot dogs, things like that. It's really just a great day. So come on out. Even if, like I said, you just clean up some trash on the shoreline, every little bit helps to help beautify our community and keep it clean.
And they can get a hold of you again, how? Yes,
they can call us at the district at 260-563-6985. 7649. Again, if you just want to volunteer by yourself or if you have a team, you just let us know and we'll get you signed up.
That's great. Anything else you'd like to mention, Steve? You guys have been a part of this all this time, and you have. And just a great job. I appreciate you for keeping it clean.
Thank you. We do have a short ceremony before we release everyone out to the river to do the work. And that, as Leanne mentioned, the coffee and donuts for sure. We also do an award each year called the Tall Sycamore of the Wabash Award that we give to a strong supporter of the Wabash River Defenders and the work that we do. So we include that. We typically will sing a verse of the Wabash River song, and it's a good ceremonial send off for everyone that's going to be a part of the river. So
I was there a couple of times to hear Michael Beecham. It's like hearing Jim Neighbors down at the Indy 500. You've got to be there for it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
A lot of passion. Leanne, Steve, thank you so much for being a part of This Week in Wabash, and we'll get the word out for you, okay?
Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us.
All right, see you.
Dare to dream about it. Dare to dream about it with Terra Realty.
On This Week in Wabash, our segment with Bev Ferry from Living Well in Wabash County is going to be talking about, hopefully, because I need some help with this. At what age, Bev, is it time to unclutter your life?
Well, I, of course, am not the one to talk about that because I'm such a collector. But any age where it bothers you, but especially if you are going through a life change, like maybe you need to downsize, maybe for some reason, a lot of people realize they need to when they've have like maybe one parent's estate, everything's stacked in the house, and then somebody, maybe your husband or wife's things, that can just get so overwhelming. Yeah. Even just with your own things, you can go through it so much easier. I always say you should probably have someone else do your house and you go do their house.
That's a good point.
So much easier.
That'd be a good point, because then you look at it and go, well, do I really want to get rid of this? Because I might, but I moved from Marion to Wabash about 14 or 15 years ago. And there are boxes I've not unpacked. I'm thinking, do I really need them? I mean, apparently not.
Let somebody else look. Don't you look.
Yeah, there you go. Good idea.
On Thursday, July 29th at Winchester Senior Center here in Wabash, 239 Bond Street, Tony Benish of Ness Brothers will come and talk about downsizing. Now, we've had other speakers to talk about downsizing. We haven't done it for probably 4 or 5 years. And there's a process. If you go, everybody has different processes, and it really doesn't matter whose process you use. But it's a matter of looking at like steps. Like for us, because we have all of our kids' things, right? All those important things you say. And I mean, we still have the original Star Wars toys, in the closet, all that stuff. There's things that you will not throw away, right? You want to save for them. Sure. But for me, it's one box a day. Nick can pick out whatever box in the attic or a bedroom he wants, and he brought down a big box of purses the other day and shoes. And well, of course, I needed all the shoes.
Yeah, sure.
And I only kept one of the purses, but that will purge us of. I mean, it was a big box of purses, and they're not old. I'm just not wearing them using them anymore.
Right.
So, if you mentioned earlier to me that you have this big basement, yes, and you really don't need it, and space is the enemy because we fill it. We fill it. We'll put more shelves. I think one of the things that's really tough is that some people think you have to get rid of absolutely everything. Everything. Well, and some people say you can take a picture of it and then you have that to look at. I'm like, are you serious? For me, things are how they make me feel. They'll remind me of someone. I do not need to be reminded that I haven't been that dress size in 5 years or 10
Yeah.
years. Get rid of it. I want to be reminded of the good stuff. And so one time, Cliff Berry, our middle son, he's very, very practical. He's the numbers guy. He was getting ready to go back home to California. And he said, if you guys love me, you will start cleaning out that attic because those other two won't do it.
That's funny.
And you know what? There's something to it. I wrote a column for a newsletter one time, and one of my aunts commented on it. And then she sent me a note and said, but have you done it? Well, no. We're working on it. But if you start working today, you won't finish by the time you die. That is like real, because we have so much stuff.
Yeah, we do.
I think it's great when people say talking about like they take pictures. That's fine, but it's like, what would you grab if you had 5 hours to grab whatever you really needed to have? What would you grab? And for instance, people who live in areas where they frequently have to evacuate, so they'd be like, say, Southern California, whether it's fires, whatever. They have had to go through that emotionally so many times. They have everything literally in a few plastic boxes, and they're where they can grab them and go if they're told they have to evacuate. It's that kind of thinking that you kind of have to have. Like, what would you really have to have? And people who have gone through tragedies like tornadoes, later they say, I didn't need all that stuff. Yeah. That is what they say. There are things you want to keep, and there's ways to digitalize things like your pictures. Yeah. You don't have to have all of them in. Well, for one thing, having them all in those old magnetic books or whatever, those are not good for them. But there are ways to store those. You can do it electronically. So I guess you think about what's really important. I'd say I was going through things that were my mother's and things also that were mine from my childhood. We had a huge box of it was all of the stuffed animals that my older siblings and I had, all of them. And I had been wanting to come across one particular. It had this big pink poodle, big, like a not quite full size, but it was big. And all I needed was to see it one more time. And then I told Nick, you can get rid of all that.
Wow.
I kept one piece that was a cat that my mother had made, and I have no idea how young she was when she made it. And it's an ugly little thing, but it is definitely her drawing with the eyes. And I just thought, I can't throw that out. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday I will. But it's not anything you could sell. It has no value to anybody except that I know that was her. And so I've kept that. What I'm going to do with it, I don't know. Boy, I tell you what, though, it's so easy to go into shops and see things that you get nostalgic about, or you think, oh, I'm going to put. At some point, the question is, when do you stop collecting?
Right. Well, the only thing I collect is Bears stuff, Chicago Bears stuff, because I'm a big fan, and it's what my passion is, other than my kids and grandkids. So the other stuff is like old VHS tapes of all the Disney films. And then I hear somebody go, "Oh, well, if you have the mermaid, a little." Okay, so what do I do then? How do I look all those up and see if I'm throwing a $5,000 video away? It's stuff like that. I think we all have that anxiety, do we not?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Because it's almost like those signals we get. Don't let go because it's going to be worth something.
Yeah.
So my grandmother always said, everything comes back around, but it'll just be a little different. So it won't be exactly what everybody has. Now, a classic example of what you're talking about is I think it was Cliff again, reached out and said, hey, have you seen this? He had a card, and I don't remember which kind of card it was, almost poke. I don't know what it was, but whatever the character, whatever it was, it had just sold for thousands of dollars. And he goes, I had that. I'm not looking for it. If he wants to come home and sort through all the boxes before they get pitched, he's welcome to it.
Was he
But
Was he into Pokemon?
they had some of that. Yeah, they had some of that, but there are other things that they had too.
Because there's a Charizard card that I own. I don't have it in this building in Wabash. It's locked away safe. But I mean, it literally, if it were to grade out as really awesome, I mean, the thing's a $60,000 card.
There you
So
go.
it's stuff like that. I don't want to just, hey, just take all that to the rescue mission. I mean, yeah, somebody could really love it, but I mean, that's hard.
But do you need it? Could somebody else have a find? I mean, it's like treasure hunting, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't bring you joy.
Well, $60,000 would bring me joy, but
Well,
I mean,
but it's not $60,000 if it's sitting in your safe someplace.
well, I'm getting ready to sell it. I'm going to try to sell it. But no, there's other things though, and it's the anxiety of wondering if I should keep all of Austin and Cameron's books for Erilyn and Beckett. I mean, do I keep all those? I'm just going to make a phone call and go, Austin, do you want these or not? If you don't, they're going to the bookstore or whatever.
Spread them out on the floor. Take pictures and have them, and then ask them, text them, see, do you want these? There may be books. Books become a part of you when you're a child, and books do become a part of you. Like I would keep the Shel Silverstein things that our kids loved, Care Bears. Those things are all still for sale.
Yeah.
And I have kept a few books that were, I mean, my mother had packaging tape on the edges and trying to save them. And they evoke them. They're not worth a darn, but they evoke a nice memory. And I put together, I used a cigar box and going through my mother's things, and she had saved not all the birthday cards or Mother's Day cards, but she had saved quite a few. And you could tell they were sentimental, and some of them were like it was just fun to see the signatures and stuff. So I got a cigar box, an empty cigar box, because if you go to cigar stores, they will sometimes sell you the empty boxes for like $1, and that's worth it. And so I put all of Mom's treasures that she had saved, all those cards, I put it in a cigar box.
Gotcha.
And look how much space that takes. It was in like 2 different boxes. You can whittle it down. So whittling it down, but don't get overwhelmed. One thing at a time. That one box at a time is good, because otherwise you get so overwhelmed. But I really encourage people to sign up for the do's and don'ts of downsizing your home or apartment, whatever you have.
That's awesome.
You can collect junk anywhere. So it's Thursday the 29th at 1:00 here at the Winchester Senior Center.
Okay, give me a good solid commercial for it before we go.
Please join us for the do's and don'ts of downsizing your home. It will be Thursday, July 29th at 1:00 at Living Well in Wabash County, Winchester Senior Center, 239 Bond Street. It will be presented by Tony Benish of Nest Brothers, and it is a great way to get yourself jump started, just sorting through those boxes in the attic.
Beautiful. All right. Bev, thanks. We look forward to talking to you again next week, and I'm going to go work on this clutter.
One box at a time.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Tune in again next Friday for another edition of This Week in Wabash. And also check out the radio program on Sunday mornings at 9 right here on 1059thebash.com and 1059 The Bash Radio.